Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Bachmann Troublesome Trucks in N-scale. The Troublesome Trucks have been a core part of the Thomas & Friends brand throughout the book series and the TV show, and as a result are very popular with the merchandise lines. Bachmann is no exception, as the Troublesome Trucks were the first good stock created for the Thomas line in each scale. How faithfully do they recreate the characters, and are they functional, decent models? Let's find out. As far as first impressions go, they don't closely represent the show models. Even though they are grey, have mischievous looking faces, and are the correct prototype wagon, anyone who sees these troublesome trucks next to a picture of the trucks from the show could tell you that they are quite different. Obviously, the elephant in the room is that they are mostly based on the promotional artwork from the late 90s and early 2000s, with their grey paintwork and faces being pulled directly from these illustrations. The faces do seem to be inspired by ones seen in the model series, though, with Troublesome Truck 1's looking similar to this one, and Troublesome Truck 2's looking like this, albeit resized to fit an open wagon instead of a van. The base model for the Troublesome Trucks is mostly based on the X mainline tooling that Bachmann used for their 00 scale range. However, that's not to say that the trucks lack detail. As you can see, the wood planking is done very nicely. The slots between the wood are three-dimensional, but don't look too prominent either, which is nice. All of the metal strapping has nice rivet detailing and is painted a nice dark grey. The chassis also has the same details that were present on the 00 scale model. The inside of the wagon also has wood planking detail on the floor and the sides, which is good to see. Finally, you can see that the buffers and a representation of the coupling hook have been modeled and have been painted black. I don't like that the coupling hook isn't fully three-dimensional, like on the engines and coaches, but that is a problem that some of my non-Thomas wagons share. Something I also noticed was that the N-scale Troublesome Trucks do have a couple of small differences compared to their 00 scale counterparts. On the 00 scale version, the chassis is flat all the way along its length, and there's a little metal strap in the middle of the wagon. On the N-scale version, the ends protrude into the main body a bit, and the metal strap has disappeared. Originally, I thought these were weird little mistakes, but it turns out that they actually make the trucks a bit more accurate to how they looked in the show, both in the CGI series and as far back as Season 1. It's kind of interesting to me that Bachmann made these small changes, but it does technically make them more accurate to the show, which is nice. One thing I also wanted to mention is the truck's build quality. They're made of a pretty solid plastic, so they don't really feel like they're fragile or like they could break. Their wheels are also nice and free rolling and don't really have any problems with friction, and their couplings also work pretty nicely. They also feel like they have a pretty decent weight for their size, and I haven't really had any issues with them derailing. Also, Scenecraft makes these tarpaulin loads for the Graham Farish versions of the 7 plank wagons, and I found out that they actually also fit in the Troublesome Trucks, which I thought was pretty cool. And as you can see here, they drop in pretty nicely, and they aren't exactly a perfect fit. They're a little bit long, but they still look good regardless. As far as the Troublesome Trucks scaling goes, they seem to be based more on how they looked in the model series rather than the CGI series. As you can see, the CGI versions of the trucks are pretty tall, but the ones in the Bachmann range scale better with the characters as to how they did in the model series. And I thought that was kind of cool, because it shows that for the most part, Bachmann's been keeping the scaling consistent with the model series rather than the CGI series. As you can see, the trucks run very well and they don't really have any problems with derailing over my points, which is very nice to see. Enjoy the rest of the running session and then I'll share my final thoughts on them. Alright, here are my ratings and final thoughts. Now, the first section is character accuracy, which is a new one that I've added and will be featured in future reviews. I've given the Troublesome Trucks a score of 2.5 out of 5 here, mostly because they are still based on the promotional artwork rather than the show, like everything else in the range. For detail, I've given the trucks a 4 out of 5. The base wagon model has a lot of nice, subtle detailing, and I like that they've had changes to make them closer to the show. However, the buffers are kind of chunky, and the coupling hooks not being fully represented hold the wagons back from getting a higher score. However, their running qualities are honestly really good. The wheels are very free-rolling, and I don't think I've had any trouble with them derailing. And the couplings also seem to work every time. I'd say that the Troublesome Trucks give us trouble-free operation as the locomotives, which is important for being able to enjoy a model railway. I've given the Troublesome Trucks 5 out of 5 here. For quality, I've given the trucks a 4.5 out of 5. The models feel really solid and don't feel like they could be easily broken. They have a good weight to them and the wheels are metal, which is always nice. I did notice in the photos for this review that my trucks do have some small spots where the paint quality drops a little bit, but because it took me seeing them in the photos, I've only taken off half a point for 4.5 out of 5. This gives the wagons a total score of 16 out of 20, which is around a B grade. I think they are a little bit weaker than the other models in the Thomas range, but overall I still really like them, and they are still really decent models all around. Thanks for watching everyone, see you next time.